Remember when we told you back in January of this year about the Spanish influenza, on how more people died of the cure than they died of the actual flu itself? It was this population control device that they were putting together to basically depopulate the world's population, right? And that's something that's rings true today. I don't believe that we're having some sort of a pandemic. I believe that there is some sort of a modified flu, right? Go back 8 months, a year. Go back to 2019 on Mike in the Night. We covered an article, a very interesting one from the mainstream media. And it was that Fauci guy, the AIDS guy. Remember that guy? Let's see how the Trump administration could handle a pandemic on its hands. Go look it up. So this is basically it's transfer of incredible amount of wealth, and it's going to be this huge paradigm rift we are headed toward. They're going to roll out a vaccine, okay, just like they did with the whole swine flu thing that we covered on the show, and people were lining up outside to get this vaccine. So they're going to basically roll out a vaccine, and what they're going to do is they're going to actually make it in a way, because of that whole mRNA thing we were talking about, I have a feeling they're going to infuse this. I was talking about this whole vaccine thing because my child, or my children, okay, have to get their vaccine cards filled if they want to go to high school. And that's like 26 vaccines they got to take. So I'm looking into this, and there's mRNA like technology that they're going to add to all vaccines. Now, this stuff is dangerous. We talked about this. We went in depth about this from the medical reviews we were reading for you guys. Right? Now, I'm afraid that something is going to happen here. They're going to call it, I don't know what they're going to call it, dosing. They're going to call it dosing. And just like my son and my daughter have a vaccine card to go to school, they're going to make it mandatory with this whole vaccine thing. I think they're going to make this one mandatory. We covered the protests, and then now there is this sickness that's going around, folks. And how far are they going to take it? Who knows? And then off the way we said it, right? So we got Maria in the comments here. Hey, Mike, give us some insight on the future. What do you see happening? We want more. We want more. And Douglas is here too. And Donald. Thanks, guys, for being here tonight on Rants and Lifestyle. Guys, we're not going to be talking about... Guys, I promise you, May 5th, we're going to do episode 224 of Trends in the Housing Market. And I already have the thimble and everything ready to go for Trends in the Housing Market 224. World getting expensive. Major correction ahead. So I got the notes for that show. Major correction by 2024, because from now to 2024 will be as long as it's going to need to re-regulate the banks, clean out all the money laundering, and clean up a good audit on our Canadian financial system to allow Canadians to get back into their real estate and allow Canadians to participate in their own real estate markets. So, okay, so let's give you guys some insight. I do have some stuff I'm going to bring up later in the show, but I'm going to bring this up right now because I think it was Maria that was asking for it, our girl Maria from Niagara Falls there, and asking for what is going to happen. So, guys, we've been talking about the agenda, the whole Agenda 2020. Okay, we've been talking about Agenda 2020 for a good while now. The Agenda 2020 is important to talk about because what they want to do is roll in all the summits into one global agenda, sustainability to fix the world type of thing, and that's total garbage. And I'll tell you why it's total garbage, is because they're building this digital prison. They're laying the digital groundwork for digital currencies. They're going to build this digital prison around you. Now, let's go back. Now, let's look at what's going to happen. So I took some notes here. We got the Hamburg Summit that's going to happen in July. We got the NATO Brussels Summit that's on May 25th. We got the United Nations Ocean Conference that's in June of this year. Belt and Road Forum That's in May. And then we've already had the Munich Security Conference on February 17 to 19. We never mentioned that before, but we're mentioning it now. The Munich Security Conference. So what they want to do is they want to roll this all into a more big, grand scale and kind of announce to the world their plans. Remember George Walker Bush? We played that clip for you guys a few times. Not the land of the jungle, but a new world order, a one order, an order that will bring every man to the next level and bring every country out of poverty, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to bring nothing. All they're going to do is they're going to rape the resources and they're going to destroy even further the middle class and take it away from the country. So the wealth will be taken away from the countries, disallowing. Just like Canada's biggest coal mine we were reporting on. When was that? In 2012. No Canadian hires. Chinese-owned coal mine. Was it 2012 or 2014? Chinese biggest coal mine in British Columbia, the province I'm in. Chinese coal mine, no Canadian hires. They don't hire the Canadians, but they use our healthcare system. Now, the Agenda 2020 is going to be very, very interesting. So we'll keep our eyes on that because I could see them rolling in something and playing it off like sustainability. We're here to save you. Don't believe anything they tell you. It's a total lie. Okay, so now Donald was asking, let me just roll this back here, in the comments about are we headed to a recession? Okay, so we are in a recession. We've been in a recession since like 2012. Ever since the Canadian proper cannot get into their real estate anymore, Canada's been hell-bent on building its economy on real estate. The Canadian proper cannot get in because of the bidding wars. We covered in 2014 when we were in Vancouver, all the bidding wars and people standing outside of houses. And foreigners were just bidding up the homes, $800,000, $1 million over asking. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. This is a total disaster. So, again, we got our bidding wars. And I think we're going to be in a depression by 2019, 2020. We'll be in a full-blown depression. Unless governments could re-regulate the banking system or shut things down, right? And we'll get into the whole shut things down too, what we've been predicting on. And the public sector. Another thing I was taking notes on is the public sector is too damn big. Okay? The public sector is so big that the liberals have been purposefully building Canada via some sort of public sector, and the conservatives too. The public sector is so big right now that the liberals will win a lot of votes in the future because a lot of people are going to need those government jobs if they want to maintain a basic lifestyle, right? So the public sector is all junk employment data. We're getting all these numbers on junk employment data, and it's all government jobs. Public sector means nothing. It's the private sector that means something, right? And so what Canada needs to do, and then again, why we're going into a major depression, is the CCP money laundering cannot last much longer. It's out of control. Okay, remember in 2012, 2013, 2014, we were filming for you guys, Hastings Street. We were filming the downtown. We did a whole series called Canada is Dying for you guys. I think it was in 2014 or 2015. We did a whole series that Canada is dying, right? The money laundering is in the hundreds of billions of dollars, and Canadians cannot compete with the bidding wars happening in BC. And now it's apparently happening now that they're putting more restrictions on for foreign investing. Everyone's going over to Toronto, and they're going to Seattle or Washington State to destroy those two economies housing-wise. So watch out, a tsunami of money laundering is going to go right across Canada and wipe out the Canadian middle class. And Canadian governments are allowing this because economically we're not doing anything anymore, right? And they got to stop the fentanyl opioids because that's not being produced in Canada. That's all coming in from China. The fentanyl, especially the high-grade fentanyl, that's all coming in from China. And again, that goes back to our Canada's dying. And yes, how are they going to shut things down? I'll bring it up again. You can make fun of me if you want. They're going to have to pull the trigger on a pandemic. That's the only thing I could see governments doing, or a hot war. So pulling the trigger on a pandemic because they're going to have to shut things down. Because Donald was asking me last week on what are they going to do to shut things down? And I said basically quite a few times now. It's kind of like a broken record. This may not happen, but they need to pull the trigger on a pandemic. They need to declare a national world emergency, and they could do that via hot war, right? So I did take notes for later show, but I'm gonna pull them out right now. They're gonna pull the trigger on a pandemic because they're gonna have to shut things down. Period. Because of the economic this money laundering economic disaster they've put us in, they're gonna have to shut things down, right? And I keep warning Americans, hey, Americans, Canada is your biggest threat, not Iraq. Canada is the biggest threat America has because of what's coming into Canada, and Canada is becoming a playground for the criminal elite and for like testing substances and fentanyls and all that stuff. And we tie that to Chinese gangs bringing this stuff in and re-laundering the money in our real estate. So they're going to have to pull the trigger on a pandemic to shut it down. And again, we've been talking about how we've been longing an American takeover here up in Canada. I've lived in both countries, folks. I could tell you, I just feel a lot safer when I was in America because I'm allowed to defend myself. In Canada, you just can't defend yourself. Let's keep going. So yeah, let's become the 51st state and see what happens. But we will have to re-regulate our healthcare system, which is already a socialized, crumbling healthcare system here in Canada. It's not good at all. It's actually gone severely downhill. And digital prison, that's one thing where we're going to talk about. We'll get into more in the show. We're going to be talking about the whole digital prison scenario and how they're laying this groundwork with digital currencies, and they're going to do that China model we've been talking about, where they're going to have your recognition, your facial recognition, your body style, your temperature, everything, and they're going to know who you are, and they're going to know what you did, and they're going to put you on a bad boy list, and you can't get your money out. Your money. They won't allow you to take your money out. They're going to take that China model. And let's get back to, was it G14096B, whatever, is asking, I see a World War III on the horizon. Yes. So we're going to go back to our hot war scenario. So we got the whole Taiwan and China thing. And they're going to probably sanction each other to death because this. Remember the whole semiconductor thing we've been talking about in Taiwan, what's a major thing with the graphics cards and all that stuff, and those microchips and semiconductors. That's very important, right? So there'll be a China Taiwan conflict for sure, and don't forget the conflict right now that's happening today on the India China border, where China's trying to take territory from India, and then let's not forget. Poking the bear, we'll see a Ukraine and Russia conflict. And Ukraine, I think this week, as NATO this week has been building up forces on the Russian border and doing military drills, poking Russia to a war. And I that's another one. And I think that Israel is going to go to war with the entire Middle East. They're going to push for war all over. And America will back it, of course. And American taxpayers will back the whole Israel against the whole Middle East conflict. I could see all this happening the next couple of years, easy, right? And let's talk about the Great Divide. Now, we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs a few weeks back, but this week I want to talk about the Great Divide here on Rants and Lifestyle because it's important. The Great Divide is they have us divided already by skin color, by religion, by creed, by language, by color. They're going to divide us by sexual preference. They're going to push and they're going to divide us to further divide us into this anti-woven society where we're all divided and we're all social, right? It's already happened with global warming. We're telling you that global warming is not real. It's not. It's just their agenda that they're pushing on you. Global warming, global warming. What do you mean global warming? It's the polar ice caps are seeing more and more ice on their surfaces than they did in the last, 30, 40 years. If anything, we're going to global cooling. So this whole global warming agenda. What's the deal with that? Right? Al Gore, blah, 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 blah. Shut up, man. These guys look like idiots. Right? So there's going to be a lot to look for coming in, coming this summer in 2017. And I think 2018, things are going to get a lot harder. I think by 2020, I go back to my video from 2010 video or 2012 video, that they will be pushing, food will be unaffordable. So we'll see where the price of food goes. Our energy wars we've been talking about, we're going to see energy skyrocket like crazy. And they're going to put layers of taxes, and they're going to tax us to death, guys. You guys know this. We've been talking about how the taxation is destroying us. I think I was reading a gas bill I had, and in that gas bill, my gas was $13, and they're charging me $140 in other charges. And the gas is in the ground in the pipes. So you can't make this stuff up. And this is where we're going, folks. This is where we're going. And someone's asking me, am I going to open lines? Yeah, guys, I'm going to start the second segment now. I'll put up the phone number for you guys to call. Guys, stop with the crank calls, please. Stop with the crank calls. I got my box here ready to go. And I'm going to just get that. We're going to get into the second segment of the show right now. And I want your thoughts on all these, the rollouts of all these programs, these sustainability programs they're pushing on us. This whole Agenda 2020, sustainability, fix the world thing they're trying to talk about. I was reading it in a PDF, right? Right? So, and I think I see it more as a whole depopulation thing, right? I could see them forcing us on taking a vaccine or something that's going to depopulate us. I could see them doing all kinds of stuff in the future, and basically destroying humanity, right? So, yeah, I'm not going to get into the argument. Someone in the comments is saying population issues. You have population issues, Mike. Yeah, I don't believe the world's like six whatever billion people. I just don't believe it. I don't believe we have that many people in the world. So they're ramping up the numbers so we could see that we are a problem and they need to get rid of us, right? So, anyways, okay, let's get into the second half of the show, guys. Let us get what's Maria, are you still in the comments there? We are live at the moment. Thank you everybody for being here on this beautiful Monday, April 9th, 2018. We got about 6 people watching now. Okay, so I want to bring something up. I feel it's very important because you know how they're doing this, forcing vaccines on people and pushing this vaccine agenda. And we were talking about how Barack Hussein Obama did not vaccinate his own children. That was something we were very vocal about on the channel. If a lot of the higher echelon people aren't vaccinating their kids, why? If it's supposed to be good for them, I don't understand. Like, if someone could maybe educate me on this, like, you know, and it's just, it's on record. This is not stuff, you know, this is stuff you could look up. You know, look up elites not vaccinating their kids. I'm just talking. And they're pushing this trust the science on us thing. And it's really disgusting when people don't trust the science, which I don't, because I just don't trust government, right? And when government thinks or says they're going to bring something for you to save your life, good luck with that, okay? Now, this also ties into another video we made about transhumanism and my biggest fear of transhumanism. What is the most dangerous technology we have? I'll give you guys a few seconds to absorb that. I honestly think that transhumanism, the changing of humans, is the most dangerous technology, and we're getting into that now. Now, this was published on January 12th, 2018. And I really want to talk about this because I believe this is a major pivot in what they're concocting or planning for us. Okay? It's it's not an article. It's a medical journal that was published. It says mRNA vaccines, a new era and technology. Now, this is kind of scary because when I searched up transhumanism and altering DNA and altering our way, I believe that they are coming out with this, and mRNA vaccines have elicited potent immunity against infection diseases, targets animal rodents, influenza virus, Zika virus, rabies virus, and others, especially in recent years, using lipid encapsulated or naked form sequence optimized or mRNA. But some sort of dialogue needs to happen because nothing's happening. They're going to have to shut everything down because there's going to be incredible civil unrest. That's why tonight I'm calling 2019 is going to be the year of the protest. They're going to protest the crap out of 2019, guys. The whole world is going to be protesting in 2019. Get your popcorn, sit back, and relax, right? But then it goes back to that other comment and what we said. They're going to shut things down to avoid accountability. They're going to shut it down. They're gonna find a way to go to hot war. They're gonna have to do that whole Taiwan and China thing maybe, and the military presence build up in the Ukraine since 2016, during the Obama administration. We're having this massive military build up on the Ukraine-Russian border, and we've been covering that. They might spark something there if they have to. And then it goes back to that whole thing that we've been talking about, pull the trigger on a pandemic. So Moderna it has been reporting that gene therapy technology, DNA. So they were using diverse approaches to mRNA cancer vaccines, including dendritic cell vaccines and various types directly injectable mRNA. So they want to inject this, right? Have been employed in numerous cancer clinical trials with some promising results showing to talk about. It's good to this is just my opinion. You understand? I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. There's this other part here. Now, I printed off another one for you guys. This one here is kind of important. This one is this is volume 22, issue 9, 27th of February 2018. Okay? These are pages 227 to pages 235. So there's a lot of pages in this one, okay? But I got to the point, okay? And it has to do with the lipid that we talked about earlier, and it has to do with the mRNA. So a single administration of CRISPR Cas9 lipid nanoparticles achieve a robust, persistent in vivo genome editing. So what is this doing? They're hijacking your DNA. This is vivo genome editing. They're hijacking your DNA, folks. This is exactly what they're doing here, and this is the development clinically viable delivery methods presents. So they keep going on with this delivery methods, right? Mediated genome editing. So they're altering your DNA. This is gene therapy crap. Why do you have to alter your DNA for? Why are they? And then on top of that, they're forcing us on this and have vaccine cards for our kids to go to school, right? So here we report the development of lipid nanoparticles. Now, the problem with the lipid nanoparticles, what I've been kind of looking at and kind of making sense of, I'm realizing that they don't exhaust through your body, or they don't leave your body for some reason, right? Oh, hey, Calvin. How's it going? Yeah, we don't have much people. We have 44 people watching here, guys. So I'm going into this dangers and how I'm thinking that they're gonna. I really believe that they're gonna, like, put this in all our the vaccines that they're pushing us to take. Like, my kid is like, well, what do I do with my? I don't want to vaccinate my kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm not for this, especially when they're genome editing. So it's editing your DNA. So now this is very dangerous. Now, if they want to edit your DNA, we got ourselves a tiny bit of a problem here. Our DNA has junk DNA. And that junk DNA that we don't know or we're trying to decipher or figure out, that DNA is a code. That is the veil that is put on us when we come here. We're put on with a veil. And that DNA code sequencing actually ties into our soul. Yes, it's like a fingerprint. And why do they want to alter our DNA for? Why do we need gene therapy for? Because this vaccine stuff that's happening now is going to be taxing on our next generation when it comes to healthcare problems and stuff. Because when I was a kid, nobody had all these problems that they have today. Nobody. We'd have a school assembly. All the kids would sit down, listen to the principal speak, everybody this, that, and that's it. We never had these problems that we're having today with these kids, like so many problems. This is the are you ready for this, folks? The option to redose should the effect wane over time or require repeat dosing to reach therapeutical relevant level of editing. So do you know what this means, folks? The option to redose. So it won't work. So basically it's going to work temporarily for a couple of months, and then they're going to have to re-inject you. So here it is. The option to redose should the effect wane over time or require repeat dosing. Everybody knows, and it's not a conspiracy theory, that vaccines are a problem. Vaccines have been a problem since day one. And, I mean, it's great that they want to vaccinate and find a way to protect us from all these viruses and blah, blah, blah. But a majority of the vaccines, they just don't work. And that's just my opinion. Do you see how they use this against my kids? Well, if he wants to go to high school, he's going to need these shots. I'm looking at the card. I'm like, that's like 23 vaccines. That's like 30 vaccines. And then now they want to put gene editing sequencing in this garbage? And he told me, he's like, yep. He's like, I should have listened to you, Mike. But, you know, my wife's a teacher. And I kind of, you know, it's mandatory, or not mandatory, but the schools frown upon people that don't vaccinate their kids and stuff like that. So that's the problem. People following, not doing the do, but following others. And that's a huge problem. There's no confidence in government. I believe in 2019, we are going to have a lot of problems worldwide. I honestly think we are going to have major issues worldwide because there's just no confidence in governments. And especially with the economic system that they've put us through and this economic thing, or this huge economic downturn the world's going towards, this huge economic collapse that we are facing because people have, quite frankly, over-leveraged. Now, this is my opinion. I believe wholeheartedly that Justin Trudeau will remain in power as long as he can. Macron, same thing. They'll fix elections to keep themselves in. Oh, yeah. Tempers are flaring in France. France protests. Police threaten to join protesters, demand better pay and conditions. Holy smokes. The Yellow Vest movement. What is going on, people? The whole world, the whole of Canada and France could vote for the opposition, and Macron and Trudeau will still get in. Like we were saying a few shows, everyone that's going to vote for a conservative, please wear blue. So you see a sea of pool shirts all over the place. You see all the people showing up in blue shirts. But then they go to the ballot box, and then the Liberals won. It's like, who the hell voted for the Liberal? You know, so that's why they try to keep your vote a secret, so that if everybody knew who voted for who, guess what? Anti-government protests turned violent on December 8th. So this has been going on for a couple weeks. So if you've been living under a rock, wake up, people. Up to 5,000 demonstrators have gathered in Champs-Élysées. Sorry, I can't read French. And at least 272 people have been arrested. I heard it was like 700 people. Paris is now plagued by worst since November 17th, as the Yellow Vest movement opposed fuel tax rises. So far, 4 people have been killed in accidents, and dozens were injured in violence. So, this is not looking good, guys. I hope they could figure something out. French government is desperately trying to keep its exhausted police force on side following weeks of violent protests demanding economic reforms, improving living standards, and resignation of President Emmanuel Macron. Now, people have been using those vests and turning around and using them as a protest, which has been gaining a lot of steam. It's hit parts of Israel. It's hit parts of the UK, most of France, parts of Italy, parts of Greece. So there's a yellow vest movement, and the media is doing a really good job trying to keep it under wraps, right? So now it looks like the police and the public sector jobs are going to start joining the protests because they can't. But here's the problem: is Macaroni and Cheese, President Macaroni and Cheese, can't pay the police more because they're broke. And if they pay the police more because it is a public sector, they have to tax the people more. So how the heck do you fix this problem? So the police are realizing that there's no way they could get this balanced. So a lot of police are realizing that they're going to have to change sides, right? And go to the right side or the... I believe Trudeau and Macron will stay into power as long as humanly possible as they can. All right. Oh, okay. Victoria, what's up? Victory. And we got Sullivan here from Louisville. Thanks for joining us. And we're already almost at 100 people watching us live. This is fantastic, folks. So all this crap kicked off because of the deflationary interest rates to save the economy in 2007 and 2008. 10 years later, it's getting out of control. And these yellow vest movements will be popping up everywhere because there's no other way to go. Because people have gotten to a point where the cost of living is too high, the standard of living has gone down, and... Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so Justin Trudeau and Macron, I could see them being, entrenched as emperors of their countries. I see Justin Trudeau being never, ever leaving his position. He's a selected puppet. Nobody wants him, but he will stay, and he will stay into the years to come. And he will basically entrench Canada into with the immigration, the bringing in the hundreds of thousands of Chinese immigrants we've been covering, and laundering money into Canada. It's going to destroy us. We're finished. And then when inflation kicks in, and they have to raise interest rates, we've been warning you about these interest rates. I want to see if I can play this for you guys. Let me see if the audio's working on my capture. Because our freedom of speech is going to be gone. You know, the UN came right out in the meeting and said that if you speak out or say anything opposing this immigration compact, you will be arrested. It will be under hate crimes. That's total. Hate crimes coming soon, folks. Hate speech coming soon. If you go against any bill that they're going to throw out at you. And this is from the Canada Migration Pact that we've been covering here on the show. And this gentleman's sign says, Trudeau sold out Canada. That's total communism, and we need to put a stop to that. Then he pointed his finger to the media, and he said, you, the media, if you give a platform, or if you say, or you allow anybody to speak out against this immigration, we will shut you down, was his exact words. So we have to take a stand for Canadian and Canada and for our Canadian rights, and that's what this is about. It's a peaceful protest saying, hey, you know what, we don't stand for that. Canada, they're going to start... again, passing bills, and if you want to go protest them or go against them, they're just going to arrest you. They're going to charge you for hate speech. They're going to find ways. They're going to digitally track everything you do, just like the digital prison we've been talking about, that they're going to build around us. And this is going to be major with digital currency, and they're going to tell you how you can spend your money, and then they're going to come out. And the people that developed this country are being shown the door, like we've been talking about. And then, again, the Yellow Vest movement is moving around. And I covered the Yellow Vest movement across, well, I didn't really cover it across Canada. I took clips from across Canada, and I covered the Yellow Vest movement here in Merritt. Governments will do anything and everything to not take any accountability for the financial mess they've put us in. And I even went as far as saying they're going to go to a hot war, okay? Or if they have to, they're going to pull the trigger on a mass pandemic. Because they're going to have to shut this down. We're going into 2019. We're in 2019 in a couple of hours where I am, and we all already, the world is in protest. And we've been telling you guys the world will be going into protest full force. Now, what I'm seeing here is actually happening. So this is footage that we have here from Belgium that we covered on that mic in the night.
In France, protesters put on their yellow vests and demanded better pay and an end to rising prices. In Sudan, the people brought down the 40-year regime of a genocidal dictator. In Haiti, they demanded the president's resignation and the prosecution of corrupt officials. And in Hong Kong, demonstrators started by standing up to the Chinese authorities over an extradition law and expanded their demands to include more democracy.
Okay, let me ask you this now. What, okay, the whole climate change thing. Now, I don't believe the repo market's
Greta.
The older generations have failed tackling the biggest crisis humanity has ever faced.
Even school children have taken to the streets, demanding that adults take better care of the planet.
Okay, hold on. I don't think the repo market's big enough for the climate change thing. There's something bigger happening for the climate change. But to get everyone to close their stores down and have all these protests on the street and stuff, I honestly think there's something really bigger than anything right now, that anything of everything is happening to put the climate change front and center at the UN meetings and all these meetings and climate summits and all this garbage. There's something happening full front and center, full stop. And then what is really happening, Raven? I don't think it's the squat.
Do you want to know?
The introduction to cryptos. Could it be?
In these countries and on the streets of Iraq, Lebanon, Ecuador, Iran, and elsewhere, citizens are saying enough and demanding a change to business as usual. The UN Secretary General has called on governments to listen to the real problems of their people.
And I did it, but it becomes quite inconvenient when the police shut everything down, whether bus, taxi, or train.
Okay, I know you went on a secret mission to the Chinese border. Did that one over to the Chinese border? Did that go okay?
Oh, it did. People do talk, and telling me where I'm currently heading will be quite a fight today, even though it's unofficially not on the list of places. But I have a feeling it will be quite a fight today.
Okay. Do you see any fires from your apartment? Do you see any fire or smoke from your apartment?
No, fire is very rare, Mike. The only thing you're going to see are police firing shots at people.
Okay, I'm talking about fire as in fire like smoke fire.
Oh, no, not so much. The Molotov cocktails, I'll tell you the reason for them. It's just so they can make their getaway. You know, police are advancing on you. You throw a Molotov cocktail, it gives you, 30 more seconds. So they had a Greater Bay project, I think I mentioned many moons ago, Mike, where they're going to make an artificial island to fit all the mainland Chinese on. So essentially what they're saying is we haven't deviated from our plan, but we're going to dress it up so it looks like it benefits you, which is what most governments do. They just remarket their strategy, don't they? And people aren't buying it. The chief executive couldn't even do the policy address in the council office because there was a protest. The politicians are protesting in the council office, so she had to scurry away with one of those, grins on her face. He, I'm safe, And so she had to do it via telephone. A lot of
No. They're going to run this thing so hard, so big. They're going to blow this bubble so big because at the end, it's going to be so much easier to cull the herd. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to cull the herd and they're going to stretch the resources another 50 years because at the speed we're going, our resources are running out, man.
Okay,
that's a no-brainer. And you're dealing with psychopaths. We've seen what they've done in the past, not mentioning any dates because you'll get flagged. We've seen what they've done in the past. Now look at the greater good of the country. Now they're going to think of it as the greater good of humanity. We have to do this. Yes. There's too much people. And you know what? If I've seen some projections. If we go full retard, 85% dead in North America in 6 months. That's full retard on the projections that they've done. And They'll just let the world take care of itself. But you got to build it up as big as, because they always say the longer they let it go, the more pain that's going to be felt. I think that's what they're doing. They're never going to leave a travesty go to waste. They never will. Use your brains, man. That's all you got to do. Think the way they think, and they are the most sinister people on the planet.
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. Just hear me out on this one.
Sure.
You got this climate change that's full stop. I'm talking, it's everywhere. It's on front pages. It's what they're feeding us. And the funny part of this one is that a lot of people are actually buying this hook, line, and sinker. But what is the real thing? Like, there's something so big in the works. Either it's a real big hot war that's going to wipe out a percentage of us. Either they're going to pull the trigger on a mass pandemic, or it's going to be something. And I think this climate change thing is the best direction they could get because everyone's buying it.
The older generations have failed tackling the biggest crisis humanity has ever faced.
Even school children have taken to the streets, demanding that adults take better care of the planet.
Yeah, see people hitting the pens. People did this in Argentina in 2001, This is when you want your government overthrown.
It says, graves incidentes in distintos puntos de la capital. So there's lots of, in central parts of the, or important points of the city are being basically held hostage.
Right, and look at the people. They're not all like young, angry people. They're bringing out senior citizens. Everyone's angry because everyone's got a grievance in all of Latin America.
Why are they beating up the taxi guy there, or the ambulance, hitting him with sticks?
That's Carabineros. That is a police vehicle.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So they're gonna annihilate it, and then so this is they're really good at doing what they do.
Renten móvil de Carabineros. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is next door to Argentina, and it's basically experiencing the same economic collapse as this, autumn season. Their spring is unfolding. Where there's a complete run on Argentina right now as far as capital flight, and Chile is kind of quickly entering the same process when no one was talking about this the whole year. No one could fathom that Chileans are also going to lose a lot of money in their pensions. And that's mainly what these protests are about. It's not just about transportation.
Well, let me interject there. It actually ties in with tonight's show. They're having a runoff on their food markets there, and food stands and food distribution is on the verge of breaking down there.
Now, which country is this?
In Chile. Now food prices skyrocketing, but world civil unrest.
Yeah, Lebanon's another one.
All right, I just saved it as world civil unrest because the world is entering a massive level of civil unrest. And I knew Chile was okay on the books, but I knew that their pensions were being squabbled, and I knew that they had one of their biggest unions there fell apart like 4 years ago. And then a lot of the newer workers that were pensioners weren't getting pensions anymore when they started, and they cut back on they've cut back on their production about 40% in the last 2.5 years.
Yes, and
do you think
the mining? Go ahead.
Do you think that is because they're trying to be more green? Because that's a bunch of garbage.
In these countries and on the streets of Iraq, Lebanon, Ecuador, Iran, and elsewhere, citizens are saying enough and demanding a change to business as usual. The UN Secretary General has called on governments to listen to the real problems of their people.